I'm Holly Joe, here with Greg.
Hi, Holly. Thanks for joining me.
Greg, so you have a free offer, right?
Yeah, I have a free offer. For years as a solo lawyer, I was outgunned by the state, and so I'm working to level the playing field.
Greg, I know you're passionate about this. How do you level the playing field?
The way we level the playing field for lawyers and criminal defense lawyers is by making them stronger, which means that they make more money, they have more resources, and so then they can really bring the fight to the prosecution.
I like that. What's your special offer?
If you're a law firm owner and you want to increase revenue, then you can join a free session with me and learn how I did it.
Wow, Greg, what is that worth?
The normal rate for that would be $775. The value of it is much greater than that. The value may be worth $5,000. There may be $5,000 worth of information just in that one session.
So how do you sign up?
If you're interested in doing the free offer, all you have to do is go to prosperatlaw.com. That's prosperatlaw.com, and there's a button on there, schedule a call with me. Or you can text the words solution to me at 843-602-5480, and I'll set up the session for you.
So that's a free session with no obligation.
Absolutely. It's just free help. I'm not trying to sell you anything. In fact, even if you wanted to sign up, I wouldn't let you do it on that call. It's just a session to help you so I can show you how I solve some of these problems.
Wow, that sounds great. I would definitely do that. You are listening to the Prosper Law Podcast. Learn how to reduce stress, have more time, and make more money. Come on in.
I'm Greg McCollum, and I built a 7-figure criminal defense law firm. I formed Prosper Law to show criminal defense law firm owners who are desperate for success how to grow from under $200,000 to $1 million and beyond.
Hi, Greg McCollum here with another edition of the Prosper Law Podcast. As you know, at Prosper Law, we coach and teach and show criminal defense lawyers in small law firms or solo practitioners how to grow their law firm, how to make more money, have less stress, and create more free time in their life. That's our mission at Prosper Law, is to help criminal defense lawyers who do work that's very important to me, and it's something that I feel very passionate about. And so I want to show and help criminal defense lawyers how to be better business people, how to grow their law firms, so that when they are defending somebody and helping somebody and trying to keep people from being crushed by the legal system and by the criminal justice system, so that they have the resources to actually make more of a difference. And I know a lot of criminal defense lawyers, and they make a huge difference, but a lot of their lives are not good. A lot of their lives are stressful, and they're not living their best life. And so I believe, and the mission is, that if I can help enough criminal defense lawyers learn how to grow their businesses and become more powerful as criminal defense lawyers, it'll start to bring back the imbalance of power. Because if you're a criminal defense lawyer and you're working against the DA's office, you know what that's like. You're sitting over there in the corner. You're in trial. It's you and your client's mother sometimes, and you're looking across the table. You're looking across the courtroom, and there's an army of people fighting you. And so it's not a fair fight. I want to even the scales a little bit, one law firm at a time, so that people can do that work, make a bigger difference, and make a bigger impact, while also living a better life where they can afford what they want to do, where they can afford to take a vacation, where they can have the time to take a vacation, and have a better experience in life, having a better experience in law. That's really my mission at Prosper Law. So today's topic is, how are you seen? how are you seen by others? And a subpart of that is, are you seen? Are you seen at all? And how you are seen matters, and the impression you make on people matters. It matters to the people that are thinking about hiring you, the people that need your services, the people that need your criminal defense lawyer services. How do they see you? Do they see you as somebody who can help them? Do they see you as somebody of value? Do they see you differently from the other lawyers who maybe cannot help them, but they can't see the difference? So I want you to think about this. How are you seen? And one of the things that happened to me is that recently I took a flight to Atlanta. I was going to Atlanta for something. I can't even remember what. And because I've been taught to fly first class, to take a black car from the airport, instead of getting in the cheapest taxi I can and rattling to the hotel and staying in a dumpy hotel, what I've been taught is that for your mindset, for my mindset, for me to be rested and relaxed enough to be able to function at a high level, I'm going to stay in a nice hotel, I'm going to fly first class on an airline, and I'm going to take a nice car from the airport to the hotel, because that reduces stress, makes me think clearer, makes me feel better about myself, helps with self-esteem. And if you listen to this and you think, well, that's shallow, that's selfish, then that's another issue. That's another issue that you have to think about. And one of my former coaches told me, he said, if you're meeting with a potential client and you're trying to do good work for somebody as a lawyer, and you're worn out and you're ragged and you're living in stress and lack and poverty, how good a job can you do for them? If you're in the same boat they're in, are you really bringing your best? Are you really in a mental state? Are you really in just a lack of stress state because you've got 6 months payroll in the bank, you've got all your expenses covered, so you don't have to worry about it? Are you going to function at a higher level? To me, the obvious answer is yes, that you absolutely can, because as you think about solving their problems, you're not thinking about all of your problems. So one of the things that happened and made me think about this even more is how are you seen? And so in this particular day, I was going from the Atlanta airport to the Marriott. There's a Marriott there in Midtown that I like to stay at. And it's next door. There's one hotel in between, but it's one hotel or two hotels over from the Four Seasons in Atlanta. And so because I've had this scarcity mindset just buried so deep in me, still to this day, when I'm at Atlanta and I'm looking at the Ubers, I'm looking at, well, I could take this black car, which is like a minimum standard, or I can get this black SUV. And the black cars, I think in that situation, the black car was like $55 or $60, and then the black SUV was $20 more. And I'm sitting there looking at it, and I'm thinking, am I going to take the one that's $20 more? Because I spend a ton of money on things. If $20 fell out of my pocket, I wouldn't even know it. I wouldn't miss it. So why am I trying to save $20? What am I doing there? So I forced myself. I said, just go ahead and get the black car. Just go ahead and get the black SUV. Get the big one. Get the one that has the limo tag that picks you up at the limo line at the airport, which is a shorter walk than the Uber line. To go to the Uber line, you have to go out of the airport, walk through this parking lot, follow these yellow signs, make a turn, and then make another turn, and then go out there to this kind of, it's not really crappy, but it kind of is, and it's farther away to get the Uber. The limousine cars, which are the black SUVs, they have a different tag, so they're limousines, and it took me a while to learn this. They don't go to the Uber lot. They're not even allowed to, and the Ubers aren't allowed to come to the limousine pickup. And the limousine pickup is a lot closer, it's covered, it's better. So anyway, so I go to get in my black SUV, and I'm going to the address of the Marriott. And so also, when I travel, I dress up. Now, I don't wear a suit necessarily, and on this day, I think I had on some they're black jeans, and I got on, my black shoes or whatever, and a white shirt, dress shirt, and then a sports jacket. So I think because people dress down so much now, that looks dressed up. And people tell me I'm dressed up. I don't feel dressed up. I'm very comfortable, but I got on the shirt and the jacket and the pants, and everything matches. So I go out there, and I got my bag, and I get in the black SUV. And I'm on the phone. I'm doing whatever I'm doing. I'm not paying attention. So when we get to my hotel, we pull up, and he doesn't take me to the Marriott. He takes me 2 or 3 doors down to the Four Seasons. Well, I'm not going to the Four Seasons. I'm going to the Marriott. Okay? Would I like to be at the Four Seasons? Yeah, but it's $1,200-$1,400 a night versus a Marriott, which is about $300 or $400 a night. So I'm not at the Four Seasons level, and I'm staying there for several days, almost a week. So that's another $7,000 to stay at the Four Seasons. I'm not there. Maybe I'll get there one day. I don't know. But so he takes me to the Four Seasons, and he's getting out and getting ready to get my bag. And I said, hey, wait a minute. This is not my address. And he looks confused. And I said, it's just right back there. You can just go out on the street, and I could walk from here, but it's right there. I need to go over there. So he's a little bit embarrassed. But why did he do that? Why did he take me to the Four Seasons instead of the Marriott? And the reason he took me there is because that's how I was seen. I come out, I'm put together, I'm taking the black SUV, the limousine type car. Where would I be going? I'm assuming when he just looked at the map, he saw the different hotels, and he knew I was going to the Four Seasons because of the way I was seen. And does that matter? Well, I may never see him again, so it doesn't really matter. He doesn't know I'm a lawyer. He doesn't know I own a law firm. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the way he saw me, and that you want that to be intentional. And so when you look at how are you seen? How are you seen as a lawyer? How are you seen as a law firm? When people look at you, they make assumptions, even if they do it subconsciously. Do you come across as disorganized, struggling, or do you come across as sharp and crisp? And that's your personal style brand. And that doesn't mean you have to look like I do and be the same as me, but that's something you want to be intentional about. And I've done an entire podcast on personal style brand. The other part of that is, how does your law firm look? What do people see when they see your logo, when they see where your office is located, when they walk in your office, when they see the people that work for you? How are you seen? Do you look like the Four Seasons, or do you look like the Super 8 motel? How are you seen? Because that's going to affect people who want to hire you. When somebody's going to have surgery, what do they want? They want the best doctor. When somebody is serious about getting somebody to defend them or represent them in a case, they want the best lawyer. That's what they want. They're looking for quality. They're looking for something good. And so how are you seen? You control that. And it's something that I think you need to think about. Now, the second part of that is, are you even seen? And I've been told that, and this is a function of networking and how networking can expand. And the basic concept is, in general, everybody knows 250 people. And if you die and you in the normal lifespan, where you're not, 100 years old and everybody that knew you died, but you die at a certain place in life, like you're in your peak, how many people will come to your funeral? How many people know you? And the general math on this that I've been taught in terms of networking is that everybody knows about 250 people through all the contacts, the things they do. They know about 250 people. Now, successful people, if you look at celebrities and people like that, how many people know them? Could be millions, okay, which is directly correlated to their success. So if you know about 250 people, the idea is if everybody knows what you do, those 250 people know another 250 people, so that the math spreads out. And that's the way being a lawyer used to work, is because you know 250, those 250 know 250, and so you have a constant stream of steady business. You're not a world beater, but you do okay because of that. So how many people see you? How are you seen? And when they see you, what do they see? I live in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and Myrtle Beach is a tourist town. And I used to be on the board and did some work with the Chamber of Commerce years ago. And I remember, because in Myrtle Beach, we thought, and the Chamber thought, and the businesses thought, that everybody knew about Myrtle Beach. And they started looking at it. And Myrtle Beach, it's hard to gauge, but at the time, they thought we had about, say, 14 to 16 million visitors a year. And so they were trying to grow that, and they wanted to get more visitors and more tourists so the hotels would stay fuller, the restaurants would do well, and everybody would do better. And so they started looking at it. Now, also, Myrtle Beach was mostly a drive-in destination. And at the time, they were also working on trying to get more airlines in, get more nonstop flights, to get better flights in, to get more people flying and less people driving and clogging up the roads. So they started doing surveys. And you see this in politics, obviously, when somebody's going to run for office at a high level, they do surveys because they want to know, does anybody know this candidate? And you find out lots of times that a lot of people really don't know about the candidate. And that's what happened with Myrtle Beach, is they started, in one of the markets they were looking at was Atlanta. There are about 5 million people that live in South Carolina. There are 5 million people that live in Atlanta. Atlanta was the kind of the cutoff of a drive-to destination because it's about six and a half hours away. So they thought, well, these people are a market. We got 5 million people here. Let's market to them. When they started doing the surveys in Atlanta, but also in other markets all over, what they found out is no one had heard of Myrtle Beach. And so while in Myrtle Beach we thought we were special, people didn't know about us. We weren't seen at all. Forget whether they judged us as a good vacation spot or not. We didn't exist. We were not seen. And then the other part of that was sometimes people had heard of Myrtle Beach, and on all these surveys they said, where is Myrtle Beach? People thought it was in Florida. There were hundreds of beaches in Florida. Florida's got beaches all over, and so Myrtle Beach was in Florida. It wasn't even thought of. So then what happened is they started marketing to these areas and started telling people about Myrtle Beach and started explaining Myrtle Beach and what Myrtle Beach had to offer. And the tourism numbers, as far as I know, they jumped up. I think they went from about 16 million to about 20 million. And that number's, it's hard to know exactly what happens, and you have some people that come more than once, but that's fine. So about 20 million visitors. So they grew that, and they grew that two ways. One is that they found out the truth is, are we seen? And if we're not seen, how do we get seen? And so they had some other things happen. They got this huge marketing budget, and that's what they did. So everybody knows where Disney World is. Not because Disney World is so special, which it is, but it's because they're seen, and they're seen in a certain way. So how are you seen? Are you seen? You get up and go to work, you see the people that you know, and you're thinking, yeah, I'm seen, right? People know me, but do they? Do they really? Because to grow your law firm, you have to be seen. And how are you seen? You're seen by marketing. And I won't talk about marketing tactics right now. That's a whole nother topic. But you market to be seen. And you market yourself in a certain way so you're marketed as successful and competent instead of having a default brand which people think maybe you're not that successful or you're not that competent. Now, if you're not seen at all, it's really, in some respects, not a disadvantage. Because if you've by default created this way that you're seen, where you're not seen as somebody who's extremely competent, extremely professional, somebody who is reliable, somebody who's always going to be there, then that's tougher than if you're not seen at all. Because if your brand is not good and you start to change your brand, that's more work than if you're not seen at all. So if you're really not seen, it's an opportunity, because prior to being seen, you can do certain things to polish your brand so that when you start being seen and people see you for the first time, they're impressed, they're interested, you look like somebody that could help them, you look like somebody that they would want to work with, and so it's really an advantage. So if you have no brand, if you have zero brand, it really is an advantage. So then if you say, well, Greg, I have no brand, I don't even know what you're talking about. What do you mean? I'm a lawyer. What is my brand? How do I create a brand? You create your brand by thinking about your ideal client. Who is your ideal client? Who do you want to work with? And you can think back about some of the clients you've had in the past, and you think about the clients that you didn't like working for. You think about the clients that were difficult, the clients that didn't want to pay, the clients that complained, the clients that tried to get over on you or unreliable. And then think about, who are your good clients? Who are your best clients? What are the characteristics of those clients? Because those clients are your ideal clients, the people that you want to work with, the people that listen to you, the people that pay you on time, the people that show up for appointments, the people that ask for and listen to your advice and follow your advice. Those are your ideal clients. And if you take some time and think about it, and I've talked about white space a lot, and I've talked about the thinking that it takes to grow into this law firm that you want to have and to grow into this life you want to have. So you can't think about your ideal client while you're sitting in your office with the phone ringing and people interrupting you. This is where, when you get into your quiet space, something to think about. And it takes a little time, but you start thinking about who are the clients that are difficult, who are the good clients. Once you start to identify, well, I remember we represented this person and this person and this person, and we really enjoyed working with them, and it was a good relationship, and it benefited our law firm and it benefited them. And we did great work for them, and they're very happy with us. And if something happened to them, which you probably won't, but they would, and they came back to us, we would be glad to see them. So you start thinking about that. Who is that ideal client? Who is the person that you like to represent? Once you start to identify that, and this can take some time, this isn't something you can do in half an hour. Once you start to do that, then you start thinking about, what does that ideal client want? If I were that client and I were that person, what would I want in a lawyer? What would I want in a law firm? What would I want in terms of support for the lawyer? What would I want in terms of communication? How would I want the office to interact with me? How would I want the office to treat me? What would I want the office to look like when I go in there? All of those things. And so as you start to process that and you start to go through that, then you have the advantage because you can start shaping your brand. And I'm a firm believer in brand. I think in some respects, brand is the key and is everything. And I know in my own law firm, when I started really growing, and I went back and I looked at it because we had all these things that we were implementing and all this stuff we were trying to do, and we're trying to do this, do that, and running around. But what really made the difference is when I established the brand. And it seems crazy to me even now that how important that was, because I was just doing something that I was told to do, make a brand. But it's made all the difference. And we made a brand that stands out and is different and distinguishes us from other lawyers, because our brand is real and we are what we are, and we attract the clients that we want. So, and I've talked about this before too, is that when you're marketing, you are in charge of your brand. You make decisions about your brand based upon what you know about your law firm and your ideal client and what you want to be. And don't let anyone talk you out of that. And if you're not careful when you hire vendors, when you hire marketing people, when you hire people to get your name out there, whether you're doing like a social media campaign, or you're running ads, or you're putting up a billboard, or you're doing anything, if you're making videos for social media, you are in charge of your brand. And do not let the vendors pick that for you. Don't let them do it. You do it. Hold their feet to the fire. Insist on certain standards. And if they cannot meet your standards, then find somebody else. For me, this was something that I did when I started this short television show years ago. I think it was 6 or 7 years ago. And I had a level of control over it, and they were good to work with, and I like them. I'm still friends with a lot of them, but they didn't meet my standards. And I wasn't going to accept a lower standard. And so I made some changes and started doing that show somewhere else in a studio with some people that I trusted that do excellent work. And we worked on that brand, and it got better and better and better, and it continues to improve. So don't let your vendors, who just many times you're just a sale, you're just somebody, they're going to run some social media ads, they're going to slap something together, they're going to try to get some traction, they're going to make the phone ring. But there's more to it than that. You want to attract the people that you want to work with. So do not abdicate who picks your brand. It matters. You have to be in control of it. You have to think about your potential new clients' assumptions. You want to control the conclusions that they reach. You want to be intentional. You want to be in control. It's your life. It's your business. Who else do you want to control it? Someone else? No. You want to control it. Be intentional. Hold to your standards, and you'll see your client base improve. You'll see the kind of clients you work with improve. You'll see revenues go up. You start getting on that success curve, and it will make a big difference in how you show up and how people respond to you and who comes to your law firm for help, and how many more people start flocking to your law firm based on that. How do you show up? Be intentional. All right, thanks for listening. I'll see you next time.
If you want to know more, go to prosperatelaw.com. We show criminal defense law firm owners how to reduce stress, have more free time, and make more money. Thanks for listening.